Hey guys, it's West. Welcome to some more Summoner's War content. Today's video will be noob oriented, I dare to say. And so for those of you who've been playing the game for a while and understand what you're doing or have a goal in your mind already, this content might not be for you, and some of the information might be redundant. But you're welcome to watch anyways, to see if there's anything you need to pay attention to or fix in your gameplay. Of course, if you are later in the game and want to give me feedback on how I did, giving advice to newer players, go ahead and do so below in the comments. Well, we're going to start this right off by talking about the common problems I see in newer players. The first big thing I see is that they want to summon everything. Much like my little brother here, this is his account. Most newer players I see will go ahead and summon all their unknown scrolls, all their crystals, everything they get, because they're chasing the Nat 5 and Nat 3 lightning that they can get from those. And I think it's a huge mistake, because this resource here, mana, which we will talk about more in depth later, is very important to save for things that are greater than getting 2-star and 1-star fodder from your unknown scrolls that really won't get you anywhere. And so we're going to talk about what you should worry about instead, because a lot of times I'll also see not only summoning rates are ridiculous for the unknown scrolls. You're pretty much going to get one stars and occasionally a handful of 2 stars if you're lucky. On my main account, I struggle to get 2-star fodder sometimes. So we're going to talk about things you should worry about. Secret dungeons. Not every secret dungeon is worth your while. So just because you see a secret dungeon with a cool monster, like today's Fire Day, so we'll say Fire Magical Archer, she's not going to change your game drastically by farming her with your Magic Knight and Light Garuda team that will only be able to clear stage 3, if that, with a rep. And so what you want to focus on when you're looking towards secret dungeon farming and getting new monsters is your light Inagami, Beladion. He will change your game quite drastically. He provides the first major heal and attack bar boost you're going to see, as well as beneficial effect removal and defense break. And defense break will increase your damage by quite a bit on these early scenario stages. So what you want to worry about if you're trying to get new monsters and you want to try something new besides farming or clearing scenario for the first time is on Sunday when it is light day, you want to worry about looking for people who have the light Inagami dungeon, even if that means begging in chat, like like the occasional person who everybody gets annoyed at, even though everybody's been there. I would recommend it, because getting Beladion is extremely important for your progression. So other than that, you can focus on the other light monsters, such as the Light Vagabond or the Light Bearman. You don't really need to. They're not completely necessary for progression. They're nice and they help. They can provide extra heals and damage reduction, but they're not necessary. And I would highly recommend getting Beladion, and only recommend getting the other ones if you see them and they're available and you think you can do it as well and are interested. Other than that, I wouldn't recommend going and clearing every SD that you see, secret dungeon that you see, just because the monsters look cool. Next thing we're going to talk about is how runes are more important than monsters. A big thing early game is getting the rune sets so that you can get their nice bonuses. Here I have a Wind Vagabond who is runed correctly. Vagabond's an HP based monster, and so for him the best set was the energy set, and he has 3 energy sets on him. And we're going to go ahead and look at these. It says right here in the bottom left corner of the runes sub page, it says 2 set HP plus 15%, which means it is a rune where you only need 2 of that specific rune, or 2 energy runes, in order to complete an energy set and get that bonus. So in addition to the 16% HP, the 9% attack, and the 2% crit right here, by having 2 of these energy runes, I'm also receiving an additional 15%. And that set bonus does stack. As you can see on the set effect part on the right side of the rune page, it'll show the energy set 3 times, meaning that I'm getting 3 energy set bonuses. And so early game, those set bonuses will often be better than the runes themselves. As you can see, I'm getting 16% HP from this rune itself, and I'm getting an additional 15% from having 2 energy runes. So the sets bonuses stack up quite high, and so early game you just want to get those sets and then work your way toward better runes. But I will be making a separate rune video if you are interested in in-depth rune guides and me looking over my runes, as well as runes you want to focus on early game. A video link will be in the description below. The next thing is to manage your resources efficiently. And what I mean by that is we're going to go back to the point of not summoning everything so that you have mana. As you can see, my little brother's account is level 9 with 160,000 mana. Well, he has that amount of mana from, of course, wishes and some guild battles that he's not been a part of but received the rewards from because his guild wins. He has all this mana that he doesn't have enough unknown scrolls, luckily, to be wasting it all, and so he can save up this mana to plus a rune. I have a good example here on his Magic Knight. He had a 4-star attack percentage slot 2 rune, which is pretty decent for early game. It's going to give his Magic Knight some plus 78 attack, and that is with no set bonus, which is again pretty nice. That's a good rune. He put it to plus 9, which is where you will get your 3rd substat on the rune, if it was not there already. And it's nice to have mana to increase the quality of your runes, increase the level of your runes, so that your monsters will have higher stats. And more important than the monster itself that you have is the stats that monster has. You see lots of examples of this when people mess around and they take a silver star monster and make that a 6-star monster and give it good runes, because even a silver star monster at 6-star with good runes can perform very well because of the rune quality. Of course, you don't want to be 6-starring your silver star monsters, as they will not bring anything to the table that your good gold star monsters that Com2uS gives you does not already provide. And so this Magic Knight right here is going to be a gift from the gods to you, the new player, so that you can clear your scenario. My little brother here has cleared all the way to Talayan Forest, the boss stage. Of course, using his reps, not as much his own team, but we'll go ahead and show off what I mean here. And so this boss right here, the Wind Chimera, is going to be able to outdamage the team, especially because they are a team of wind monsters. So we're just going to go in here and grab a rep monster. If you do not have a page full of friends, then your day should be spent finding friends in the chat rooms. You go into chat and you say, hey, I'm a newer player looking for any friends with any reps. Thank you very much, and please. And if you ask nicely, I would say 90% of the time somebody will friend you. The Summoners War community is not toxic, anywhere near as toxic as most games, but for the most part you will have 1 or 2 people at least who come up to you and are like, okay, I'm happy to help you out, and sometimes they'll even have great monsters and feel free to keep you on their list. And there's also this neat mentor system that they recently added, where essentially a higher level player can add you as a mentee, and you'll be able to use their monster once per day, which is sort of like having a friend rep, except both of you will be rewarded with 5 energy, which of course is great because you want all the energy you can have early game. And so we're just going to let this rep clear it for us. It's really cool to have a rep that can clear out this boss stage. Only a 4-star max level rep too. He's doing tons of damage to that Wind Chimera because he's a fire element, as well as one of my favorite monsters, Kamoon. So we're gonna look at this rune right here, 1-star rune. Almost negligible. Like you could pretty much ignore 1-star runes altogether. 2-star runes, you can keep them if you want to just get the set bonus on your monsters. Like I said, it'll say on the rune how many of that rune you need for a set. Fatal is a 4-set, Blade is a 2-set, Energy is a 2-set, and those are the 3 sets you really want to be focused on early game, so that your monsters can have the stats that they need to survive and deal enough damage to clear scenario. And so here they're going to chat away, but you want to get all the reps you can and use those reps wisely throughout the day, because you could basically go in, clear a bunch of stages using rep monsters, and they'll help you get your way to Famon. And that should be your first goal in the game, is using reps and your monsters to clear Famon Volcano normal. And doing so will get you your Light and Dark scroll, which you could summon and hope for some Light and Dark Lightning or a good Light and Dark monster. But what you get is what you get. And like I said, you want to be saving up your mana along the way to get runes. And if you hit a stage where you struggle on, say I go into Haidini runes and either I ran out of reps for the day or my monsters aren't clearing it and I want my monsters to be stronger, you could always go back to Garen Forest, Mount Sis, or Kabir runes and put it on hard and go ahead and clear for those higher tier runes, as well as greatly increased experience, which will help your monsters level up. And a majority of the time, if your monsters are unable to clear a stage, it is either because they do not have a rune set to get that early game bonus, or they are not a high enough level to have the stats that they need to survive. And generally speaking, you can go back and do the hard mode of 2 stages prior to the stage that you're on. So if I was on Haidini runes, I can likely do the hard mode of Mount White Ragon, or if I can't, I can go to the hard mode of Mount Sis or Garen Forest. And you always want to be going back and clearing scenario for increased XP and rune drops for your monsters, because runes are what will carry you through the game. It is not monsters, it is runes, and how high their star rating is. And now with the recent update, if you do the hell mode of stages, you can get 5-star runes. As you can see here, my Magic Knight on my little brother's account has a 4-star rune. He got it as a lucky drop from doing the hard mode of Mount Sis, and it is a decent rune for Magic Knight, as she is an attacker and needs plenty of attack to do the damage that she needs. And if you farm the stages, you can occasionally get lucky and get good runes like that, and plus them up to +6 or +9, and it'll greatly increase the amount of damage you do and help you clear these scenario stages. And this is all about being goal-oriented, of course. Summoner's War is not really a game you can hop into and just do whatever you please and get successful at eventually over time. If you really want to progress in the game and get anywhere, then you have to have a goal set in mind. So for my brother's account, as an example, his goal right now should be to farm Fatal Runes for his Magic Knight so that his Magic Knight has more damage. So we're just going to hop into Mount Sis hard, and we are going to go to 3 and bring his team here, and we're just going to go and let that auto. And if we can't beat this, we can always go back to normal and level up our monsters until we can beat this. But with our Wind Vagabond at 3 stars with 3 energy sets, he should be able to do enough damage to help our Magic Knight out here. And so right now, pretty much my little brother at his level, and if you're at his level, should be farming for runes for all of the monsters that you're going to be using in scenario. Those monsters I'd recommend would be the Wind Vagabond, the Water Fairy, the Fire Hellhound, and the Water Magic Knight, which is the team I have here. If you pull any other natural 4 stars or natural 5 stars, you can feel free to use those as well, so that you could level them up and see what they do. I would just highly recommend having a tank, a healer, and 2 damage dealers, and I would definitely recommend having an elemental variance, so that regardless of the monsters that you're going up against, you have at least some attribute advantage. And they do explain that to you early game, but I will re-explain it anyways. I feel like it's fairly simplistic and self-explanatory, but water beats fire, fire beats wind, and wind beats water, and light and dark beat each other. And so for the most part, you want to have one of each element in your team and just level all those up for scenario, as I have here, so that regardless of the element I go against, I still have some sort of attribute advantage or attribute neutrality, so that I'm not getting stomped by the enemy. So here we're going to let this run just finish up, and then we're going to talk about my next point, which is if you do choose to summon monsters, here are the ones you should probably keep and worry about. I see a lot of people building monsters that I would consider to be food or monsters to save for a more important purpose, which honestly, for the most part, is going to be a waste of your energy and your time. And what I mean by that is, if you think the Water Viking looks cool, that's all right, but just know that if he doesn't bring something to the table that the rest of your team does not have, or something that you don't necessarily need, there's probably not a point in using your energy to level him up right now. Of course, if you're further in the game and you want to have fun with new units, you could feel free to level him up and play around with him with some leftover runes you have. But for the most part, you're going to get the most benefit from leveling up your Magic Knight to help you farm, and some sort of healer to heal your team and stay alive so that they could keep healing your team. And so the monsters that you want to save, of course, are going to be fusion monsters. And to find out what a fusion monster is before you're level 17 and have unlocked the fusion hexagram, you're going to come to your power-up circle, which you get very, very early on. And what you're going to see is this nice little symbol here in the bottom left corner of your monster's icon, and if you click on them, it'll show you the fusion icon even larger, and you can click on it and see what monster they are used to fuse. I would recommend keeping any fusion monster you have, at least one of them, so that you can fuse the monster when you need to. One big focus for early game players is going to be Veramos, the Dark Ifrit. Fusing him is very key for a smoother progression into Giants, and he'll bring a lot to the table that that your team would otherwise need in multiple monsters. He brings a stun, a damage over time effect, which will do a lot of damage to enemies with high health, an AoE stun, which will of course stop the enemies from moving for one turn, and a cleanse, which is very huge when going against the giant, who can weaken your defense and deal ridiculous amounts of damage to your team. And so you want to save any of these monsters that you get for him, and you could feel free to level those monsters up to 4-star where they should be at, but you never want to evolve them to 5-star, because then they can no longer be used in the fusion. And if you don't want to just play around with them in the meantime, you could always go to your monster, click on them, go to the settings page, and lock them so that you do not accidentally feed them and elongate your time required to fuse that monster. And so pretty much that's what you should do in the early game. Worry about your Belladon, getting them on Sunday if you can, awaken him, and give him HP and speed. Clear through Scenario to Fame on Volcano, and worry about getting your monsters like Magic Knight on 4-star runes. And the biggest thing is probably going to be having a goal and knowing what you need to accomplish that goal. I wouldn't recommend going above and beyond with your goal and making it unobtainable to you or unrealistic. For example, I would not come onto my little brother's account and be like, okay, I want to clear Necropolis B10 tomorrow. That's most definitely not going to happen. But a goal such as, okay, I want to, this week I want to make the Magic Knight to max 4-star and evolve her into 5-star and awaken her on Water Day, as well as making, maybe my Wind Vagabond into 4-star as well. That is a very realistic goal that I can accomplish by going into Scenario and leveling up my monsters. But for the most part, worry about ruining up your Magic Knight, clearing Scenario, getting your Belladon, and other core monsters such as the Wind Griffin and the Wind Pixie, so that you can, progress in the game. And don't be worried about feeding other versions of them into them so you can get their skill ups. Of course, you want to skill up the Wind Pixie, the Wind Griffin, and any other monster that you plan to use aplenty. You can skill them up using other versions of themselves. And what I mean by that is you can skill up a Wind Vagabond with a Wind, Water, Light, or Dark Vagabond. I wouldn't recommend feeding Light or Dark Vagabonds into the Wind Vagabond, however. But if you have them and would like to increase their skill level so that they do damage and will more often activate the effects of their skills, you can definitely do that, and your monsters will become more effective. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you're interested in the in-depth rune guide, that link will be in the video description below this video. Of course, if you enjoyed, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video.